What would I be doing if I wasn't feeding cattle today? I'm at a loss. It's just what we do. I grew up in a farm north of Garden City, and we were primarily irrigated corn and dryland wheat farm. So we ran a lot of pasture cattle for a gentleman named Earl Brookover. I left the farm and went to work for Mr. Brookover Feedyards when I was quite young. If I look back on my career, I'm most fortunate for having worked for some of the early pioneers of feeding cattle, and I learned a lot about protocols and trying to do it right every day. And then I progressed up into a packing company, and they were really growth driven, and there was a company called IBP, and so I learned a lot about business when I started working with Iowa beef processors. One of my customers came to me and asked if maybe we should have our own feed yard, and I explained to him that I was totally happy where I was at. I said, why would we want to do that? And I started making excuses for, probably why that would be hard to do. We decided to make the change anyways. When we decided to go ahead and own a feed yard ourselves, the hardest part of it was done at that point. It was just making our minds up to do it. We've got a great crew, and they're very interested in making a difference. My longest term employee would be my feed caller, Cesar Martinez, and he and I started working together in '77, and that was quite a few years ago. He's my go-to guy. If I'm gone for a few days, I show up with him because he's an unusual person. I show up to ask him what's happening while I've been gone. He's an unusual guy. He manages a feed mill and the feed calling, so he sees everything. He knows everything. That's what's going on. A very sharp individual, and he's driven to be the best. I feel good nights when I go home and knowing that everybody did the best they could. And I'm really serious about that. When we get feedback from our consulting nutritionists or consulting veterinarians that, hey, we've made a lot of progress over here in this area, that to me is comforting. I like to see my people win. One of the things we try to teach to the management people out here and the interns as well, I always ask these kids to please try to own something in their life. And it doesn't matter whether you just own the job where you're working at, or you need to buy land, or you need to own your own business. I want that in their minds. To me, the people that I worked with when I was young, out of school, kind of put that into my head. And it makes you think about life differently, and it makes you think about business and how you're managing your business differently. Even if it's your job, it makes you think about how you do your job. We really push for these young kids to think about owning what they do. Nothing we do at the feed yard is a timed event. We move cattle slowly, we process cattle slowly. We get asked all the time how many cattle can be run through them a day. And I really don't know, probably not as many as everybody else does. It's like I say, it doesn't matter to us how the cattle are handled. The cattle will tell you how fast they want to go. That's where we spend a lot of our time, is teaching stockmanship skills to our employees. The cattle feel better about themselves, they're not stressed. If they're more comfortable, they're going to perform better. We have veterinarians that feed cattle with us. We have farmers that feed cattle with us. Investor groups that invest in feeding cattle with us. And then we get to our fund groups, which will be our commercial cowmen and our seed stock operators. Those are the guys that really enjoy working with, because it's great to be involved with people that are influencing change in the industry. We've got cattle to 100% choice now. Now we're working on the prime. So what's the next thing going to be? We have to look at our new customers out here, and so they're looking for transparency. They want wholesome food. They're looking for traceability. Those are some of the things that we're looking at for the future. And, how can we incorporate that into our systems? Part of the reason that we built the research center too is I traveled a lot of different places, and a lot of people talk about we just don't tell our story very well, and that's all I ever heard. There is a good story to tell, but we're all so busy with the way markets are and environment and weather, and there's a list of things that we worry about. It's hard to find time to do it. So that's why we have a lot of tour groups out here. They keep us awful busy, but we have the time to do it. We felt it was time. The industry has changed over the last 7 years. Genetics have changed. Our ability to study cattle and collect data and see how that affects performance has changed. So we decided it was time to get into that, to see if we could make some improvements. Antimicrobial resistance is such a huge thing that the industry is getting involved on. Sustainability, our carbon credits, our carbon footprint, our greenhouse emissions. The normal consumer doesn't know today that we are working on making changes to what we're doing to the environment. The sustainability, it's not just a buzzword. One of the best things that's happened to our industry out here has been certified Angus beef. They've helped us make improvements in our product, which I think is the biggest thing they've added back to us. They've incentivized us to move our cattle up from 50–60% choice up to 100% choice and tackling the prime issues now. They've made us think about, what's next?